motivation is overrated. Motivation is something that is, I believe, wrongly used and is wrapped with a lot of myths. Work is a self-expression. We choose it. And it's the fastest dopamine. That's why very often it's hard to close the computer.
Yeah.
Work is addictive.
What is the role of a leader?
The most detrimental myth of all is that the role of the leader is to make people happy, challenge people to dream, give them space to act,
Okay.
let them make mistakes, help them learn through them. The other thing is what we started with, hire based on will, not based on skill.
I have personally come across a lot of people who are willing to dream, but they don't act, right?
Yeah, well, because the sense of urgency is missing. If we stick too much with the scenario of how we want it, for example, I want it with Eckhart Tolle or nobody else. I want it with Oprah and nothing else. You are piling up unnecessary stress and doubts that would actually prohibit you from taking action. So sense of urgency is important, but also connecting it with my authentic, true core self.
What significance would you place on action?
One of the biggest myths of all, I need to be motivated in order to act. Well, action is the third doorway to motivation. When I act, I get motivated. It's a personal responsibility. Motivation, happiness, inspiration is personal business. Values heal. But we cannot reach values through doing things. We cannot reach peace by meditating, doing the yoga, doing your regular practice.
Hey, Nadezhda, such a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for being our guest on the podcast, the xMonks Drive.
Thank you, Gaurav. I really appreciate what you are creating for our community with all the thought-provoking conversations. And it's real privilege for me to be here with you today.
Pleasure is all mine, Nadezhda. I've had the honor of working with you, collaborating with you, co-facilitating programs, workshop retreats. So it has always been a joy to learn from you, learn with you, and travel with you.
True. Pleasure is all mine indeed, and it's been a journey, wisdom towards something great. Let's see what we'll co-create today.
I'm sure. Nadezhda, while I was thinking the subject that I should be talking to you about, and without blinking my eyes, one thing that popped up is the energy that you bring in. I've always found you so motivated. I've always found you being a go-getter, always being a pro when it comes to learning, always inspired to create something for the coaching community, and such a giver you are. And I think around motivation and energy would be of immense benefit to our audience. Help me understand, how do you define motivation? I mean, what drives you, Nadezhda?
Gaurav, first of all, thank you. Every time you present me in front of any audience, I always have this urge to look around and check, is he talking about me? Because in my perception, I'm somebody who is definitely curious and interested to learn and to comprehend the mysteries of life, like time, like love, like God, but who also likes to live a very simple life in everything, in doing work, in relationships, in spending time by myself. So how do I define motivation? I don't know if I have a very wise definition, but when you ask me this question, I'm having this sense of irritation because motivation is overrated, and motivation is something that is, I believe, wrongly used and is wrapped with a lot of myths. When you talk about inspiration and energy, this is what I totally kind of align with and really enjoy living from that space, everything I do. But when you use the word motivation, kind of hits me as if I have to protect myself from something.
And you used a beautiful term that there are so many myths around motivation. It's overrated. Why did you use the term myth with motivation? I mean, what are the myths around motivation that you have been able to capture in your journal and
Hmm.
look at them through your curious eyes when you say the mysteries of life?
One of the myths when hiring is hire skill, not
Mhm.
will. So people to thrive, organizations to thrive, it's faster if you find somebody who been there, done that, right?
Mm, mm,
But I believe that organizations that thrive, teams that thrive, groups, families that thrive are actually families, groups, teams, organizations who bet on will. Will as in willingness to be there,
mm,
inspiration to do something about
mm.
this environment, about this
Yeah.
goal, about this vision.
Mm,
The most detrimental myth of all is that the role of the leader is to make people happy.
yeah.
And the leader should work to motivate people to work. And then think about this. When people expect to be motivated, they become consumers.
Mm,
They are giving the key of their happiness
mm,
in somebody else's hands.
mm.
Work is a self-expression. We choose it. Work is the
Work is a
fastest.
self-expression.
Work is a self-expression, and it's the fastest dopamine. That's why very often it's hard to close the computer.
Yeah.
Work is addictive.
Yeah.
And
It
then
is.
sometimes we use it as an excuse for not paying attention to other important things in our life.
Mm, mm,
But motivation does not equal happiness. Myth number 2. And Gaurav, I'm sure you will testify this.
mm,
People who are motivated give a damn
yeah.
and it hurts. They take things personally. They don't sleep. They don't eat. They do everything that depends on them
Yeah.
for their goal, for their vision to happen. Isn't that so? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I can so much relate to that. Myth one is, as you said, the role of the leader is to make people happy at work. That's one. The second one is motivation equals happiness.
That's not true. There
Okay.
was, how did I learn it? Actually, it's an interesting story. You know this famous saying, find a job you love and you won't work a day.
Yeah.
It's a
Oprah
very
Winfrey
popular
said
quote.
that. Oprah
Okay.
said that once.
One day I received a post in my feed that said, find the work that you love and you won't work a day crossed with red, thick lines.
Yeah.
And written, and you'll work like hell and you'll take everything personally. That's what I call
Even that's true.
motivation.
Even that's
Right.
true. Okay. So, you said that one of the myths around motivation is that the role of the leader is to make people happy. Let's
That's a myth.
double click on this itself. Then what is the role of a leader? You have been working with people not only in your country, Bulgaria, but you've been working across the world. What, according to you, is the key responsibility of a leader?
Challenge people to dream. Give them space to act.
Okay.
Let them make mistakes. Help them learn through that. And the other thing is what we started with. Hire based on will, not based on skill. Find the people with the spark in their eyes from the start. And this I've learned from my first boss. When I was interviewed, I had zero experience, but I applied for the job of my dreams at that time. And when it was in the realm of recruitment, And when he asked me, and how are you going to attract people? I started making up things. I started talking about hanging flyers in the public transport and stuff like that didn't exist back then. Maybe now, 20 years later, it's a standard, but not back then. And I thought it's when I reflected on what I shared with him during the interview, I thought it's complete nonsense. He would never give me the job. But actually, it didn't take long. Actually, it took just the entire conversation and 15 minutes later to receive the call and to tell me, come join us.
Yeah. Wow.
And I do appreciate him for hiring me for the zest, not for the knowledge.
You said something so beautiful, Nadezhda. Challenge people to dream, give them space to act, let them make mistakes and learn from them. I have personally come across a lot of people who are willing to dream, but they don't act. Right?
Oh.
They would talk about what they really want in their life. They would talk about the car that they would like to drive, the mansion that they would like to buy, the kind of profiles that they would like to handle, the kind of conversation that they would like to have. I mean, you can make people talk about hours.
Yeah.
And when it comes to executing it, when it comes to burning the midnight oil, they will let you down.
They would let themselves down. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are 4, I would call them tests, if you are ready for your dream.
Okay. What are those?
The first one, you've started with this. Do you see the dream as a movie, as a moving picture? Sometimes some people actually can't dream. And this is a sign of stress. It's something to be mindful of. Do you have a moving picture? So imagine this, Gaurav, when you close your eyes and you think about an area in your life, could be business, could be family, could be friends, could be anything. What do you get? Do you have glimpses, like photos? Or do you immediately start seeing a moving picture?
See glimpses for sure.
Yes.
I see hosting a talk show on the lines of Oprah, sharing stage with individuals like Eckhart Tolle, going for retreats, settling down, slowing down. I see peace on my face, stillness on my face, where I could be an ease to be with, where I could be a comfort to be around. And these are the glimpses that I can see.
Beautiful. And this is an emerging dream. Someone with a compelling dream, the minute they close, becomes a full movie. Now, we are not talking about the thrillers and the dramas, right? Because some people, when they close their eyes, that's what they get. But that's when fear interferes in the wrong way and in the wrong moment. So one thing for those of us who just have glimpses, one thing is keep on dreaming, keep on being with this, but also don't stick to it.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other thing that I think relates to what you said earlier, I have a dream, but I do nothing about it.
Yeah, I do nothing about it. Yeah, there are people like that.
Yeah, well, because the sense of urgency is missing.
What does it take for an individual to convert those glimpses of pictures in the dream to make the full-fledged movie into that? And you said, don't stick to that. What does that mean, Nadezhda?
Well, this means that if we stick too much with the scenario of how we want it, for example, I want it with Eckhart Tolle or nobody else. I want it with Oprah and nothing else.
Yeah.
You are piling up unnecessary stress and doubts
Mm,
that would actually prohibit you from taking actions.
mm.
And the question here is, and that's the second doorway to motivation. The second doorway to motivation is what's behind that dream of mine that
So
really
what's driving that
nourishes
dream?
me. Yes, that really
Ah,
nourishes me. If we
mm,
use coaching jargon, we'll call this values,
mm,
right?
mm, mm.
But that's this inner sense of truth of what's truly important to me
Mm.
and why do I really want this.
Yeah, yeah.
So sense of urgency is important, but also connecting it with my authentic, true core self.
I think that's very important, Nadezhda, because very often I have come across individuals, for that matter, if you ask me, Gaurav, why do you want so and so? Why do you want to lead a talk show on the lines of Oprah Winfrey? Probably I might not have an answer to that. Or,
Just ask you a different question.
hmm,
I would actually go with what you are already seeing.
hmm,
And I would invite you to actually imagine
hmm,
it's happening.
hmm,
And then I'll ask you, and now step into this, experience it fully. And
mhm.
tell me, what does that give to your soul?
And when you're saying experience it fully, what does that mean?
Just imagine it's happening. Just
Oh, it's
imagine it's
happening right
there.
now. Got
Yeah,
it.
imagine Gaurav is
Hmm.
actually leading a talk show with Oprah Winfrey.
Ah,
She's next
is,
to Eckhart Tolle.
isn't that
What?
so amazing?
Sure, it might be ego that gets fed to begin with,
Yeah.
but our ego is actually part of who we are. And when we address it with acceptance, with care, with love, and asking, and then when you are fed, when you are nurtured through that experience,
Hmm.
what is
Hmm.
this giving you that's even more important to you?
Yeah. Nadezhda, when you work with leaders in the corporate world,
Hmm.
right, when you use these terms like accept them with love and care, nurture them, nourish them, how do they land for them?
Yeah, I understand where you're getting, and maybe my language is a little bit more feminine, a little bit more emotional, but actually I have a very grounded question. And the question is, what does that give you that's important to you?
What does that give you that's important
And
to
the
you?
other, why do you care?
Hmm. Why do you care? One of the terms that I've heard from people is that, no, I don't have time. I don't have money. I'm too busy with my children. I'm too
Hmm.
busy with my aging parent. And people can tell you 10 reasons why it's practically impossible for them to go for what they at least say they care for. If you ask me, do you care for your body? I'll tell you yes. But do I do anything regularly to take care of my body? My answer is no. Do you genuinely care for your family? I would say yes. Do I do anything regularly to take care of my family? My answer is no. Similarly, you can ask me questions around uh, my friends, my desire to go deeper into my practices. My answer would be yes, but am I doing anything? My answer is no. And I can tell you 10 reasons why I'm not been able to do that. In those cases, where would you place motivation and how to tap into that? I mean, am I making sense in my question?
Absolutely. And immediately I'll tell you something from experience.
Hmm.
You do care for your body, you do care for your child, you do care for your family, you do care for your business, you do care for your parents.
Mhm.
You do not put the strive and effort
Hmm.
that either you or somebody else put as expectations on you. Very often when I coach people on motivation, and I typically do this in group setting format, when I ask them, what do you need more motivation for? They start with sports. And this is something like global hypnosis,
Mhm.
that we need to go to fitness in order to take care of our bodies. We need
Yeah.
to meditate in order to be present. We need to do yoga and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
Is are global cliche. And when, and it shows two things. A, there are other things that are more important to me now in that stage of my life.
Got it.
And the second is, yes, I'm using time, money, children, parents. These are the global excuses for not doing something, but let's turn them into global priorities.
I love the term global excuses because they're universal, I guess. I mean, everyone use it. Most of us.
Yeah, but I wanna dwell a little bit more on the example with sports. Everybody has time for sports. And this is something I've learned from one of my coaching clients. She said, you know what? I do have the habit of brushing my teeth thrice, 2 to 3 times per day. And the way I'm doing it with the squats. And this is my 6 to 10 minutes squat per day. And I started practicing this with laundry. I do have a machine that dries them, but in sunny days, I also hang them outside. And how do I do them? I'm using it with a squat, not with a bend. Am I doing my self-care? Yes. Am I combining it with something that's important? Yes. Let's be creative. Let's start figuring out ways of achieving what's important behind. Let me ask you again. Why do you want to have more sports and equalize this to care for myself and my body? Why? In order to be?
In order to be healthy, in order to be fitter, in order to be more active, in order to have experience and have more vitality in my life.
Vitality, right? And you don't need to waste time going to the gym in order to get that. Actually, when you step into the true reason of why you want this, I want vitality, I want to feel lively, I want to be fit, but of course, your brain immediately will start figuring out ways to do this while you are contributing. You know, we both know about the power of and, not either or.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a global pandemic of either or. No, it's always and.
So you said it's very important. So one of the roles and the responsibilities of a leader is to challenge their team members to dream. And then you spoke about understand the why behind that. So when you said the values or why bother or why do you care? And then you also said, give them space to act. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by give them space to act and then let them learn and let them reflect?
Before that, Gaurav, would you allow me to spend a little bit more time on the values?
Would love to.
Why?
Yeah.
And all of us, we've watched the famous TED Talk of Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
When he talks about it's biology, it's not even psychology. The human body is very responsive. And what we plant into it, that's what it recreates. That's why I'm opposing so much this self-blaming kind of attitude. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Of course you are. You are taking care of yourself, maybe not in the global perspective. And I want to demonstrate something together with you about how responsive body is to everything we plant into it. Remember a time, and don't talk about it, but just remember a time when you felt stressed, and just show me where is your body reacting. Remember a time you felt stressed.
Yeah.
Where is your body reacting?
Somewhere here.
Okay. So Gaurav, let me ask you, now shake it off. You are not stressed.
Yeah.
Just shake it off. Yeah. But how much time it took me to put your body into a reaction?
A spur of a moment, because I could get into that state at a spur of a moment.
At a spur of a moment.
Welcome that stress in my body.
Would that be true if I assume that it was a sensation of shrinking kind of?
Yeah, of
okay.
course, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how quickly and how responsive our body is to what we plant into it with words.
Yeah.
And now remember a time when you really felt vitality. You felt alive.
Yeah.
Your words, right? And show me with your hand, where did your body react?
I could experience that expansion around my chest. Yeah.
True? Yeah. How long did it take me to put your body into that state? Split of a second.
Yeah.
What we choose to tell ourselves and to tell to other people actually determines the biochemical reaction, either a fight, flight, freeze, or expansion, openness, trust, relaxation. So that's why values are so important. True story. Values. One day, my daughter, I was having a heavy headache. I think I've told this story many times, but I want to share it again. Very terrible headache after a very heavy work day. And all I wanted was to go to bed and sleep. And my daughter came and she wanted to show me a video. And I begged her, not now, please. But she insisted. And I said, okay. And we started watching. And it was a video about friendship that then grew into love. And we started discussing difference between friendship and love and friendship and all this value words in action. And 15 minutes in the conversation, I paused. I turned to her and I said, honey, do you know what happened? She said, no, Mom, what? And I said, I don't have a headache anymore. Values heal. That's the power of words.
Values heal, you said.
Values heal. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But we cannot reach values through doing things. You will not reach peace by meditating, doing the yoga, doing your regular practice. You will do your regular practice when you approach it from the sense of vitality, fun, fit. When you declare, this is who I am, this is how I do things, it starts pushing you towards this kind of actions and bringing you more of that sense. And I cannot prove you that. Only when you do it in this sense, in this order, I am vitality, I am liveliness.
Yeah. I think that's where the integration happens. And as I'm just listening to you, Nadezhda, I'm also reflecting that how at times I would have severe headache. And the moment when I would play with my daughter Need, the headache would just vanish. At times, there are occasions when I would have headache, I would take medicine and it would not go away. Right? And I'm just trying to see, because you said that there is a biochemical reaction that happens within our body.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, what do I notice myself saying that I am what? That's a question. Right? And as you are saying that I am vitality, I am energy, I am active. When you're operating from that space, something magical happens indeed.
What we plant gets replanted and sprouts.
Yeah.
So what do we choose? I'm not saying that you won't take the meditation if it's prescribed. I'm not saying I won't listen to the signal of the pain. What is this coming to warn me? Yeah. I'm not saying don't go check your eyes. Don't go. What I'm saying is that it really matters. Do I know what matters to me?
Yeah.
And how do I talk to myself? And do I start with what I value as a way of being? Leaders. If I want to be an impactful leader, if I want to be a trusting leader, do I step into trust first, waiting to be proven that they can be trusted?
Yeah. Where would you place the significance on the action part? Because, as much as you might say that I am love, I'm care, I am integrity, I'm honesty, I'm impact for my leaders, and yet you don't do anything. results won't happen, right? You
Mm.
get results based on the actions that you take. And let's accept it in the corporate world where we live in, people are evaluated based on their performance. People are evaluated based on the behavior that they demonstrate in their day-to-day conversations, in the way they interact with each other. So what significance would you place on action?
Yeah. Well, action is the third doorway to motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about dreams, knowing what
Okay.
you want, seeing the vision. We talked about values, knowing who you are, what's
Mm-hmm.
in your core that makes you who you are. And acting is the third one. And
So
this
you need
is,
to act on that.
and this, as we started with the myths, Gaurav, this is one of the biggest myths of all. I need to be motivated in order to act. This is the biggest BS. No, when I act, I get motivated. Zig Ziglar says, motivation doesn't last. Just like bathing. That's why it's recommended daily.
Of course. That's a nice one.
And I add to this big mind, and it's a personal responsibility. Motivation, happiness, inspiration is personal business.
I love it when you say it's a personal responsibility. I can't rely on others to motivate me. Otherwise,
then,
I would starve to hunger.
True, right? You and I, we know when you are the one who drives a business, maybe you can rely on higher powers, but that's a different conversation. But then there is another big mistake that people make. We are trying to swallow an elephant. In our to-do list, we put projects, right? It's very basic, but the question is, what is the smallest step I could take to get me going? An athlete, anyone who is motivated despite the pain it takes, knows that it all starts with putting the sneakers on. As simple as that. What's the action that takes not more than 2 minutes?
I realize that there are so many situations in my life. There are so many things in my life that I cannot manage. And I also realize that how at times we believe that everything that's happening in my life, I am the director of that, without realizing that how I'm just being a part of the universal movie which is being made. And I'm just playing a very small role, very, very small role. And there is somebody else who's directing this movie. And I'm just playing my part.
But what you are talking here about is very important. Many of us dream of becoming big, becoming famous, making an impact, making a difference. But actually the fourth, and I believe one of the most important doorways to motivation is legacy. Not the kind of legacy like I'll write 325 books and I'll become the best employer in the world. Not that kind of legacy. Because as you said, this legacy is attributed to one, but is built on the shoulders of many. What I mean by legacy here, it's a big word, but legacy is do something good without expecting anything in return. For example, when was the last time you fed a street dog? Or you picked a trash from the street, and just because you got irritated that it's not the right place for it to be there. Or you simply smile to a stranger who was handing you the goods you're buying. And maybe you could come up with so many more. And that's actually the small role that makes a big difference.
The act of kindness, the random acts of kindness.
And recently I also watched a video. They were talking about the lollipop leadership. You do something good without actually expecting anything in return. really nothing in return.
What I'm also listening is what kind of contributions are you making in your life, Nadezhda? By sheer luck, I would say, by sheer universe grace, I've had the great opportunity of working with few of the really kind-hearted leaders in the recent past. And I was talking to one of those leaders from this gentleman is a CEO of an technology company based out of Bangalore.
Mm.
And he's an expert when it comes to AI. He said, Gaurav, despite the fact that I'm working with the most innovative technologies in the world today, and I'm considered to be one of the experts in that, what I'm realizing is the importance of kindness and connections when it comes to human beings. And what I'm realizing is that as much as the world is moving towards the breakthrough technologies, it's becoming more important for human beings to be kind to each other. And you may call it legacy, as you're saying. And I just loved it because you said that do it without expecting anything in return. Yeah. I remember I was listening to one of the Oprah's talk where she says that I don't talk about legacy. I believe, why do you need legacy? Isn't that an act of expecting something even when you are gone? Wouldn't you call that as an act of your ego? And I love that. Why would you want to leave a legacy? Why can't you live your legacy?
We talked about the 4 doorways of motivation: the dream, the value, the action, the legacy. But Gaurav, we didn't address something very important. Everybody knows this theory. But still, you would be right to say, I have a dream. I take some steps about it. I know why I care. And I do good without expecting a return, believing that it will grow someday. Very often, we fail because we are missing the golden key to motivation. And this is as simple as physical energy. We abuse ourselves with focusing mainly in one area. Typically, in 21st century, that area is the mind. And when we come back exhausted at home, we have no power for anything else, and we experience the vegetable effect. You know the vegetable effect?
No, tell me more about that.
Body is a wonderful machine, eat what it needs. And when we abuse it with too much focus in one of the 4 key areas of us being complete, being whole, being satisfied with ourselves, it actually takes control, puts us on the sofa, makes us use the remote controller, put on any show, and just stare blankly at it. That's the vegetable effect. So, been there, done that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is no balance. There is only balancing. That's one of my favorite quotes. And we need to learn how to take conscious breaks. Meaning, what nourishes my soul?
That's a question that we need to ask ourselves.
Not what nourishes my mind, what nourishes my body, what nourishes my spirit. And when I notice that I have gone too much into one of these 4 areas, let's say typically it's the mind, we exhaust ourselves intellectually, then we can ask ourselves, how can I balance it? With what of the other 3 areas I could balance it? My favorite example for that, when I was in India, actually, and I knew I'm having a very challenging period of giving, of sharing knowledge, of being with others, of expressing myself to my best possibilities and helping people learn. I thought, and how can I balance that with my me time, with something where I'll be on the receiving end of knowledge. I'll
Yeah.
be on the creative part of this process. And I enrolled myself into an M&L jewelry workshop with two
Yeah.
amazing ladies, mother and daughter, artists. They nourished my soul completely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
So
important while we are in the doldrum of life. We need
yeah,
to take a pause and listen to ourselves and check what nourishes my soul.
sleep is overrated
Sleep
and
is overrated.
sleep is overrated. Sleep is just part of the vegetable effect.
Okay.
It's just whether you stare at the TV set or you go to sleep tired and wake up even more tired, it's not filling our energy.
Yeah.
It's actually draining our energy.
Mm.
So when you want to go to bed, get up and move.
Nadezhda, would love to hear from you. If you to share your 3 quick points that would help our leaders in the corporate arena to show up in their zone and tap into their flow.
Take care of your energy.
Mhm.
Be an example of a balanced, conscious human being.
Mhm.
Have dreams. Share your dreams. Have fun. Be authentic, and the rest will follow.
And the rest will follow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nadezhda. It was an absolute joy having you. And I look forward to having you sometime again in India and co-create something new. Thank you so much for being with us on the show, the xMonks Tribe.
My pleasure. Take care.